Yes, sir. We are here, and so is Bryce Underwood. I told y'all there would be fireworks. You see all these people in the chat? Hey, the numbers need to come up. I only see 600, 700 people. That's not enough people because I told more than 700 people, and there were more than 700 doubters. There were more than 800 doubters. Y'all need to be telling y'all friends. It was more than 800 people. It was more than 900 people talking shit. It was more than 1,000 people talking shit. It was a lot of y'all talking shit. We need more people in this chat right now. I'm just saying. Where y'all at? Where y'all at? I want to see y'all. I got to say, fellas, it was a whole lot of pretenders. A whole lot of pretenders. I saw a whole lot of insiders. It was a lot of insiders. It was insiders over here, insiders over there. I never saw so many Michigan insiders. I mean, you would think all you got to do is show up on Twitter, say I'm an insider, say I got some intel. That's all the qualifications you need to be an insider. I got some Bryce Underwood intel, and I'm suddenly an insider. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. Suddenly, fellas, I say there's a chance, there's a shot. I say be patient. And everyone's shooting it down. Alas, fellas, there is space for good old-fashioned, hard-working, vetted intel. And this is the crew. This is the crew that brings it to you like we always have. Honest, vetted, sourced, accurate. Allen Trieu, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Couple things. I just learned that we can cuss on this since you did like 5 times there. I didn't know that. That's not usually how it is on the radio with you. So I learned that. And we have to give a special MVP shout out to your wife, Mrs. Webb, because I called you today to try to get buttoned up on if this goes down. And she answered and said she had forced you to take a nap, which she doesn't normally do. So she must have internally knew something was going to happen and said, Sam needs to get his rest for later. And you seem very well rested right now.
Yeah, you're supposed to wait. I forgot. I think the YouTube metric is you got to wait until like 6 minutes into the live before they flag you for swear words. But there was just something that came over me. Sometimes, you got to say it for emphasis because there were people who were taking liberties. Brice Marich, welcome to the show. There were people who were taking liberties with the reporting because it was so unbelievable what we were saying or hinting at, or at least refuting, because there were things that we couldn't say. There were at least things that we were refuting that people were saying elsewhere. It's like, look, there's a chance, or look, be patient, or look, what they're saying isn't true. And people didn't want to hear it because what we were saying was unbelievable. But alas, like I said, believe it because it just happened. How you doing?
Solid. It's kind of ironic too, because I was just at Belleville High School earlier today. And there was a good buzz. I'm not saying everyone, was feeling it, but there was a good buzz.
Are people somebody didn't just give an On3 crystal ball here. Are you serious? Are you really using On3 as a source in this live? Are you serious? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interject.
No.
It just threw me. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'd say I think we've handled this recruitment as best as anyone in the land. From you to Allen to me to Steve, there's so much info we had with this recruitment that we could not say. And biggest thing I feel like we just weren't reckless. We weren't throwing numbers out there. We weren't misleading people. We weren't saying, they're not even talking to Bryce Underwood or his camp. That we had been kind of putting little breadcrumbs here and there saying maybe Michigan should continue recruiting Bryce, continue recruiting Bryce. I guess it was a good idea they did.
Steve Lorenz, like I said, maybe you shouldn't take victory laps at times like this. Maybe other people wouldn't, but I'm not other people. I'm not other people. I take victory laps. I do that. I spike footballs. That's just how I do. Especially times like these, because there are people who are taking liberties with the site, with 24/7, with TMI, right? Because we weren't saying something every day, right? We weren't throwing out numbers, and people were taking issue with that, like we were supposed to do what everyone else was doing.
You want to know what's funny with that on-3 crystal ball comment with Derek Meadows? I just posted about Derek Meadows on the site. It's kind of a microcosm of what we've been talking about so far. Could not have talked to a better source on this recruitment who said not quite yet on a crystal ball, right? And it's like, so you talk about just trying to be first or trying to, for the flash. This is the way we do things, right? Do I think Derek Meadows, for instance, now that Bryce is in the boat, I'll bet Derek Meadows probably ends up in Michigan. I wouldn't be right. We wouldn't be one bit surprised at this point, but not quite yet, right? And then Tom Lloyd comes in, says there's a mystery team involved. So it's like, okay, and it's like we said on the it's like, this is what we were talking about on the last episode about people having, there's a lot of people out there have an inability to have a little bit of patience.
Right.
This is why you need to be patient. When people, Sam, all of us have been doing this for so long, we're not telling you to be patient to get you off our back. We're doing it because we're trying to report things as responsibly as we can. There's always so many moving parts in these major recruitments, and it's, so anyway, it was just kind of ironic that the message I got back on Derek Meadows was not quite yet, when, I see an instant prediction for Derek Meadows to Michigan as we got whooped on this story, so we need to do something to kind of circumvent the fact that we got beat really badly on the Bryce Underwood recruitment. That was kind of my read on that. So I just thought it was ironic that, it's basically like, I think a crystal ball's probably coming, but not quite yet. So
yeah, it's ironic. I go all the way back to the spring. Because spring was when this recruitment really sort of, it's the genesis of this recruitment picking back up. The beginning, and at the beginning, Michigan was in it strong, and then it died down. Why did it die down? I think Michigan was recruiting him, and they were recruiting him heavy. But in the early days of at the advent of you're recruiting, and all these teams are doing they're doing the parallel recruiting. They're doing the part about, here's how we're going to develop you. This is what we're doing on the field, and we're doing the NIL pitch too. Michigan, in the early days, they weren't doing the whole parallel part. They were doing just the on-field part, and then NIL was just we're transformational, not transactional. That was kind of the pit, and that that just wasn't stacking up to other teams. And Michigan was fizzling with a lot of recruits, and they sort of fell by the wayside with all the top guys. That's just the brass tacks of it. All right. So you had a changing of the guard, and in the spring, and this is a very vital moment. In the spring, Michigan was finally able, this past spring, they were finally able to give their NIL pitch. And Allen Trieu got wind of it. Allen Trieu got wind of it. Now, if you know anything about this recruitment now, you know that they weren't looking for any kind of attention on their recruitment. They were making moves. He was committed to LSU. He wasn't looking to back out of his commitment to LSU. He wasn't looking to go to Michigan, but hey, they want to make their NIL pitch because Michigan, remember what I just said. Michigan wasn't doing the whole parallel thing. They were just, hey, all we're talking about is how we develop you on the field. We aren't talking NIL. So they hadn't had an NIL pitch. But now they're doing that. So, okay, if y'all want to show us your NIL pitch, we'll take a look. We'll come with it, but we aren't doing anything else. But we'll come take a look at your NIL pitch. So they went to take a look at the NIL pitch, but they don't want any attention on it. But so Allen gets word. He hears they're going to take a look. And he drops word of that he hears that they're going to go take a look at Michigan. But we don't know that that's nothing other than that's what they're going to do. And what happens? Other services kind of come behind us and they want to kind of try to jump on the news too. But they don't have the same sources we do. So when they try to jump behind us and no one is trying to kind of telling them the same story, what happens? Well, they go behind us and then they go over to Bevel and they say, well, no, nothing's going on. And man, they're chomping and they're chirping. And then they try to hate on Allen and say he doesn't have the news right. Well, the truth of the matter was they didn't want any attention on that. They didn't want any attention on that. Now, what they told that other service is, nah, we aren't taking any visits. We aren't going to see Michigan. Now, you know what Allen Trieu did in that moment? Knowing that they took the visit. But you know what he did? Nothing. Took
the L is what I did.
Took the L. Knowing that they took the visit, knowing that other site was going all around saying that he got it wrong, saying that he's losing it, he doesn't have bad sources, he got this crowing. Because clearly this other service had no sources at the school, no sources at Michigan, clearly that would tell them, yeah, wasn't just him on campus, his whole family was on campus. No sources at Michigan that would tell him that, right? Clearly, totally out the loop. That would tell him, you look like a fool out here talking all this. Yeah, look, this they don't know what they're talking about. Allen sat there and took it like a G. Because the family, hey, they don't want it out there. No way for Allen to know that. Somebody at the school told him they were going up there. Didn't know it was supposed to be a secret. Allen took it. Which is what you're supposed to do when it's not about you. When it's not about you, and you're looking out for the kid, you're looking out for the family, you're looking out for the recruitment, you sit back. You say, okay, I'll let them talk about me. I'll take all the shots. I'll let the fool be a fool. Now how you look? Look like a bigger fool now, right? Fast forward to the fall. Everybody's saying there's no shot. Nothing's going on. Nothing's ever going on. Not knowing, fool. Stuff's been going on. Stuff's been going on. It's like, come on, man. Like I said, there's not that many insiders, people. They make you think there's a lot of insiders. There's not that many insiders. There's not. There's not. So far be it for me to tell you who to read, who to listen to, where to get your information. Hey, we have these appetites, these voracious appetites. You want to read something all the time, I get it. do what you do. But just understand that some of that is just fat. You know, if you want the filet mignon, if you want to get away from the fat, you just want the lean. There's only one place you can get it. Just telling you. So, like this week, I'll give you another example. Brice was at practice all week.
No, I wasn't. I promise I know.
Not this Brice. But we knew that. Did we report it? Did we report it?
That's a hard thing to hold on to, too, by the way.
Hard thing to hold on to.
Because you're always scared that somebody else is going to catch wind or he's going to get seen. And I mean, that happened a little bit with whether or not he was going to come up to the games, and then people saw members of his family, and then it sort of leaks out there.
Right.
So,
that's a hard thing to hold on to.
It's hard to sit on.
Hard to sit on because you know somebody else, I mean, might get it. And then next thing you know, they say it, and then boom, it's a big story. And then they're quick to say, look, I had the story. No, and it's like, come on, man, you wasn't on this. You wasn't on this at all. You got dudes who said there was never a shot and nothing was ever going on. Now they act like they've been on it. Like, come on, man, stop it. Like, please, are you kidding me? This is a joke.
Okay, so can I hop in? I hate to stop the Sam train of handing out all of this crow. I do have to get going soon.
Okay, go for it.
In terms of if you want to talk about some things involving Brice and as a player and how this went down, I have a few minutes left to give. And then I will gladly look this up later and listen to all of the rest of the things you have to say after I get off, because I'm sure it's going to be very entertaining.
Yes, sir. So, Allen, let's get into what you think. Give me your place for this recruitment in the pantheon of players that Michigan has landed in state and since you've been covering recruiting. Or just Michigan recruits in general since you've been covering recruiting.
In terms of just on paper at the time of a kid's commitment, this has to be number one, right? Because I think you have to take the situation into account. So in the story I wrote, this is the first time since Drew Henson that Michigan would sign the number one quarterback, who also happens to be the number one player in the country, depending on where you look. The difference was, I don't think that at the time Michigan was expected to get guys like Drew Henson, and and they didn't have to flip him. And I think when you add in the current state of Michigan football, there's a little bit of a crossroads. You're at a coaching change. They're 5-5 right now. Quarterback is a position of need. When you add up everything that's happening around Michigan football and what Brice is, this is number one. And I would love to hear somebody make an argument for another one, because I don't think the next one is all that close.
Yeah, it's, to me, as lands go, it's very similar, and it's probably I know this predates Brice. This Brice, I don't know if it predates you, Steve, but it's very similar to when Lloyd Carr landed Drew Henson. You remember Lloyd Carr? He was coming off he was in the midst of like 2 8-4 seasons. This was before he won the national championship when he got the Drew Henson commitment, right? And Drew Henson was clearly the number one player in Michigan. Maybe the number one player in the country. He was the top QB, 5-star QB, mega prospect. They promised not to recruit a quarterback in his class or a quarterback after him. Just massive prospect, Steve Lorenz. This is up there with that caliber of prospect to be able to flip him from LSU.
Yeah, I mean, before Allen even answered, I was trying to think of who number two would have been. Henson would have been early for me. I think since let's just say since the Harbaugh era, probably Rashawn is the only one. But again, it's one and then the gap between 2 and 3 is much smaller than the gap between 1 and 2. I mean, this is a whole different level deal for Michigan. Not to mention just the perception value that this flip carries for not just this recruiting class to finish out, but you're seeing some 2026 kids already hit with huge Javion Osborne, that the top running back target kid out of Texas, had him in the studio right during the barbecue. I mean, he's posted like 3 different tweets already since the commitment. So yeah, I mean, it's a commitment it becomes beyond the actual player themselves, which, Bryce Underwood, number 1 player in the country, could turn out to be an all-time great. It's amazing though how, that perception or just the level of player and just the whole deal, the way it played out, it becomes almost bigger. You have people that are like completely paying attention, like prospects who probably wouldn't have answered the phone 3 weeks ago are now completely paying attention to Michigan down this final stretch. So yeah, no, I mean, it was like, who's number 2? Probably Rashawn or maybe Dax Hill. That was kind of a fun recruitment, but again, the gap between 1 and 2 is pretty big, I feel like.
So I think even if you expand it from Michigan, it's hard to find commitments for any school that are quite like this. I think Dylan Raiola is along the same lines, because you also had a new coach who was trying to establish themselves as at a really important position. I think him not being an in-state guy changes that a little bit, but I think, even the impact of Dylan Raiola, you can see it into this class where Nebraska's signing some top skill guys. And he's obviously, looks like it's going to pan out. So I would say if you're looking for a recent comparison, Dylan Raiola is the closest one that I can think of nationally of a flip at that position that maybe you didn't expect that school to, get leading up to signing day.
Yeah, numbers ticking up. 11,000 in the room right now. Let's keep on getting them up and getting them higher. Dan Howard clearly just joined the room. He says, Sam, please take your victory lap. You must have just came in. I think that this, to me, when you consider what Drew was for Lloyd at the time, it was for him an anchor. Now, by the time he gets to Michigan, Lloyd has won the national championship. But when he lands him, it was, the ground was kind of shaky. The ground was really shaky. I was a student at Michigan at the time, and to be around, there were a lot of questions, man. But you could kind of look ahead, and people were excited about what was to come. So even though they might have had some questions about where things were headed, they were like, okay, but you got this quarterback, this superstar coming in. So they were at least like, okay, the promise of tomorrow. Now, with Sharon, you're coming off a national championship. It's just year 1. It's not this season that you expect. No one is going to cut bait after 1 year. But you get the 5-star quarterback, even knowing that there's going to be another year. This 5-star quarterback gives you this promise. It's like, okay, this excitement. That doesn't mean that there aren't going to be some changes. Like, there's still going to be some. He's going to make some. He's got some evaluations to do. There's going to be some moves that he has to make, some changes that he's going to make after he evaluates his staff. But you get this 5-star quarterback, and this gives you that juice. This gives you that excitement in the fan base that you want to have, man. This is huge for that reason, Bryce. I don't think you can overstate that.
No, and honestly, it's funny. Steve was mentioning recruits. I've already had a couple of recruits hit me up about Bryce Underwood and just his impact. I've even had top 27s hit me up about this. I mean, this commitment is program changing from the season and outlook of how where everything was going. this just raises the floor of where Michigan's program is. You know, I think a big thing too, we always talked about, and I don't know who said this, was just the talent on this roster was not where it needed to be from last season. And you can now see the drop off with the recruiting class coming in with Bryce. That raises that floor on top of when we're expecting the transfer portal and kind of the inner lines of what they're going to do there too. It's just, I mean, you can't magnify how big this is. I mean, he is trending right now on X. It's massive.
So, no, Nate. So let me give you some more insight into that. So there are not that many insiders, Nate. So if you pay attention to our Michigan Insider, our Victor's Club message board, then you know that we've been talking about portal prospects. We've been talking about portal QBs. And then on our Drop and Dime show, we actually had portal targets as a subject. And lo and behold, after that, you started seeing topics pop up on social media. This is how it happens. So we say something on our message board on one of our shows, and then suddenly you see things pop up on social media or on other shows. People take things from our message board and then they propagate them as intel in these posts or on these other sites. That's just how it happens. Miller Moss, I think, would be a nice target for Michigan. There are some other quarterbacks from the portal that I think would be nice targets for Michigan, even though they have Bryce Underwood. Don't go thinking that just because Bryce is in the fold that Michigan won't go pursuing a portal quarterback. Because guess what? Guess what part of the conversation during the pursuit of Bryce Underwood has been? Hey, pursue a portal quarterback. That's been not just something Michigan has been saying to Bryce, but that's been something they've been saying that'd be good for you to do. From a pressure relief standpoint, from their perspective, but also from a mentorship standpoint. Hey, it'd be good if he comes in as a young quarterback where he can kind of help, he's learning the ropes. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't want to come in and be the guy. Like maybe he comes in and beats out that. He might be better than that guy. He might beat him out. But it'd be great if it's not like he has to come in and the weight to be the guy is on his shoulder. Like he's got to be the man right now or else. That's been the conversation. So Michigan is going to pursue a portal quarterback. That understanding has already been had. That conversation was a part of the recruitment. So no bye-bye Miller Moss. And I'm not saying Miller Moss is the guy. I think Miller Moss is, my gut says Miller Moss is a guy that there would be interest in. But I wouldn't say that if I'm Michigan, I wouldn't make that be the only guy I look at. I mean, what if there are better guys than Miller Moss that wind up being in the portal, right? So, but I guess the point is don't close the door on a big-time portal quarterback because I think Michigan is going to pursue a big-time portal quarterback too. That is still on the table. How about that?
So I wanted to add when we were making the comparison to Drew Henson, I wanted to put Michigan fans' minds at ease in that I've known Bryce since 7th grade. I've never seen him once touch a baseball bat. So you don't have that to worry about in this one.
All right. So one of the things that we're going to be getting into is other guys that could follow Bryce, right? So you remember my fireworks post. Man, there's a whole lot of people. So this is what I'm going to need you guys' help because I really don't have the time to go back and look at all the people who were talking, who were chirping about the fireworks. Whole lot of people. And it wasn't just Buckeyes. It's a lot of Buckeyes. A lot of Buckeyes were chirping. but it wasn't just Buckeyes. So I need y'all help with the receipts. So my Michigan people, go back and start calling those people out who was doing all the chirping about the fireworks and say how you like me now. Can you do that for me?
There are already 3 threads on the board of people collecting receipt. 3 separate threads on the board of people tagging and with old screenshots. There's a dude who like a year ago made a comment about that he thought Michigan could still get Underwood, and somebody bumped that thread. Like it's chaos, but like it's the good kind of chaos you want on the message board. So that I think Michigan they're already receding. I think some people had in the back in the holster ready to drop. So
yeah, definitely help me out with that. I really don't have time to do that, but we are going to be focused on guys who could follow Brice, because one of the things that he certainly is going to do is he's going to try to get guys to come with him. Derek Meadows is obviously one of those guys, right? Michigan is the only school standing in the way of Notre Dame. Like, I think we probably all agree he's not going to LSU. Can we all agree? That dude's not going to LSU. like LSU's, they're going to take more L's than on the field. He's not going to LSU. And so, you got family here. I think Michigan's a better cultural fit than LSU. They have that on par, but Notre Dame has done a great job. I think Notre Dame is the leader in the clubhouse. And so there is some recruiting to do. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, but Michigan has a great shot. So there is some heavy duty recruiting going into this weekend. He is obviously front and center, but there are some other guys that I think Brice is going to be going at. And then if I'm Michigan, and this is going to be an interesting thing to get into over on the MichiganInsider.com. So if you don't have your subscription, now is the time to get into, because fellas, if I'm Michigan, this is what I do. I want you guys' take on this. You got to go back. Every L you took is not necessarily an L anymore. Every L you took is not necessarily, it ain't an L now.
That's a good point. I want to bring up some real quick. So I went to see Elijah Dotson, right? And a couple of names he mentioned to me of who he's recruiting, because he didn't really want to get into the Bryce Underwood stuff, which I understand. He might have known. Who knows? But 2 names he mentioned, Jordan Young and Grayson Littleton. 2 names he mentioned right off the bat to me.
You're giving away VIP information, Brice.
Sorry.
Okay, so now those are DBs. I'm hearing there's some they're going to swing at every,
obviously,
and Brice himself is going to swing at every receiver in the country, I think. So you're going to hear, I mean, there may be some names that you don't hear that they still go at, and maybe they get told no, but I think you can feel good that if you go and look at the top of the receiver board, those guys will be contacted. And I think some of them are going to listen, and it helps you keep Andrew Olish. So you get that too.
Yeah. Andrew Olish. If you go read Brian Doan's article, so let me speak up for Doan. Let me speak up for Brian Doan. So Brian Doan writes an article yesterday. Brian Doan writes an article yesterday where he interviews Andrew Olish, and he asks Andrew Olish, would it make a difference to you if Michigan gets Bryce Underwood in the fold? Would it change your recruitment? Would it lock you in? Because the premise is, you started looking around because, there are 2 questions. Who's going to throw you the ball, and would Michigan throw the ball enough? Well, Michigan had a quarterback committing to class already when you committed, right? And you understood their passing offense already when you committed. And yet you started looking around, right? So what's the deal? Those dynamics weren't enough to keep him committed. But what if they get Bryce Underwood? Brian knew what was on the verge of happening when he asked the question. So when I went to the board, when people were reacting to that question, and they were saying, well, Brian is trying to sabotage. He's negative about Michigan, and he's trying to sabotage. He's a saboteur, and he's trying to sabotage folks. So I responded in the thread. I said, Brian is not trying to sabotage Michigan. This is not a negative article. Follow me. Listen to me. This is not a negative article. If people were paying attention to the thread. And if I'm vouching for a guy, pay attention to that too. I'm vouching for Doan. Doan is not one of those guys. And I don't do that for a guy just because he's 24/7. But I'm vouching for Doan. And I'm telling you, he's not one of those guys.
I have a few things I want to say before I hop out. First is also backing up Doan. He takes some flack on the board. He's one of the best reporters we have. He is a dogged reporter. I mean, he works extremely hard. He's a good dude, great dude. Spent a lot of time with him. Doan's the goods. I've said this a couple times, but I want to say this again. It's hard to be the number one guy. It's hard to be the number one quarterback. You got people chanting overrated at you every week. You have this huge microscope on you. You get your teen years kind of taken away to some extent. You can't go places without being Bryce Underwood. You're Bryce Underwood wherever you go. The fact that he held his game together through that, I think, needs to be talked about and commended. Because when they played Saline a couple weeks ago, and CC did a great job this past week in defeating them, but I still thought Bryce played a pretty good game. 2 weeks ago, I thought Saline had a chance to make that a much closer game than it ended up being. And part of that was I thought maybe all of this talk and distraction would get to Bryce, and he played incredible in that game. So I think if there are skeptics about him, and if you think, yeah, sometimes being big and having a strong arm and being fast, there's a lot of big, strong arm, fast guys that don't make it at the quarterback position because they don't have the intangibles. If you're looking for something to point to as far as his intangibles, the fact that he's held it together through all this and has been consistent as he has over 4 years while constantly having a target on his back and people questioning how good he is, I think that to me has been more impressive than him launching at 70 yards or some of his runs. That part of it to me has really impressed me about the kid down the stretch. So
yeah, give me a player comp before you go, Allen.
Player comp. He's a hard one to comp. We've talked back and forth about this, and he's difficult. Coming out of high school, I would say he had, Justin Fields because of the combination of being able to throw it and run it. Bryce's game has also changed. He was much more of a throw it guy. And then this year he started to use his legs more, but he's a throw it first guy and run second. I think Belleville's just used his legs more this year, and he's done more of that. And so that makes him, so I've said Josh Allen, maybe a guy stylistically like Trevor Lawrence, where Trevor can run it too, but he throws the ball first. But there's not a great comp. So that's the best that I can do.
Yeah, Justin Fields will never be a passing quarterback. So
I'm a Steelers fan. I still have hope, Sam.
I was gonna say the Fields comparison immediately. I thought Allen's gotten a really good look at Justin Fields this year.
I'm talking high school. I'm taking high school Justin Fields too, where at the time, he threw the ball. He was not a run first guy in high school either. That sort of changed. So that's my best comp. But I'm going to sign off. Great working with you guys on this. I wouldn't want to be with any other crew exchanging trade secrets and interrupting naps and doing what else we have to do to get to the bottom of this. But always as a national guy that contributes to all the different Big Ten sites, I love all of them, but it's always a pleasure to work with you guys on this. Whenever Michigan's in on a Midwest guy, I always like our battles and our chances to report things accurately. So yeah, I appreciate. And Sam, you're a great hype man. You are, to use a Detroit, I use a Detroit hip hop reference. I mean, you're the proof to my Eminem. And so I'm glad you have thousands of hype men for you on the board, because no one else can I appreciate you telling the backstory, but I would have taken that one to the grave. So
no, I know. We had to get that out because my man was trying to give it to you, and you took that L, and you took it for you would have kept taking it, and you shouldn't, because that fool was acting like a fool. It should be clear how much of a fool he is, and I hope that is illustrated now, and I think it is. So.
Well, I appreciate you saying the things I'm unwilling to say. So thank you for being my mouthpiece. I appreciate you guys. Hopefully you get some rest tonight, and I'm sure we'll have some more things to cover here down the stretch.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Alan. Thanks a lot. Folks, the live is not over. I still have some time before I have to go on CBS, and we want to get this live over 15,000, and we are almost there. Almost over 15,000, celebrating Michigan getting Bryce Underwood in the fold. There it is, 15,000 people in the live. Michigan gets Bryce Underwood in the fold. The #1 player in the country flips from LSU to Michigan. We told you it was possible, told you there would be fireworks. And I don't think this is it. It started with Andrew Babalola. Next, it was Shamari Earls. Elijah Dotson followed it up. Of course, it could be the grand finale with Bryce Underwood. We told you it'd make you forget about Travis Johnson, Ronald Johnson, Jai Eugene, Sean Parker, Najee Harris. You know, you got all of these big-time L's that Michigan has taken over the years, right? This is one that makes you forget about all of those. I hate bringing up bad memories, but when you have one so sweet, it makes it all worth it. This is a big one. This is a game changer. This is a quarterback that a lot of guys want to follow. And so to preview what we're going to be getting into over on the MichiganInsider.com, you want to show us love. How you show us love is you go over to the MichiganInsider.com. You get down on that subscription. You get down on that subscription. That's how you show us love. And then it also gets you your Paramount Plus subscription. You get a VIP subscription for a year. It also gets you Paramount Plus. So it expands and extends beyond what you get on the VIP. But what we're going to be getting into is who might follow. Who's going to come along with? Who's going to come along with? Because here's the deal. Bryce, you didn't totally give it away, right?
Oh, there's several more.
Yeah, you didn't totally give it away when you said, hey.
I just give out a couple.
When you said, because you were talking to Elijah, and you said Grayson Littleton, and you said Grayson Littleton, and you said Jordan Young.
Yep.
Now,
there's more. But there's more. I just want to point that out. There's more.
There were some guys who visited recently that Michigan took L's on, because I said the L's you took aren't L's. They aren't L's now that you got Bryce. Those were temporary setbacks. That's what they are now, right? But some of those temporary setbacks were guys who said, hey, I want to see what happens with Bryce at the time. Right? But they went ahead and made decisions. Well, now you just saw what happened with Bryce. So if you're Michigan, you pick up the phone and you say, okay, how about now? How about now? You might say, how about now? And I got another 50 stacks. How about now with another 100 stacks? That's how you play the game. Temporary setbacks, fellas. Temporary setbacks. Michigan's not done. Like, there are going to be some more guys coming in the fold. They're going to go back, and it might be a guy who just committed yesterday or last week. It's like, there's no way they're going to be able to get that dude. He just committed somewhere. No. Temporary.
So I just want to point out too, I think this is also huge for the class right now that they have, because you mentioned Andrew Olish, a guy like Andrew Marsh. He's someone that took a visit to Washington. Washington was pushing hard And let me read it. I just got a text from Andrew. I was like, can I just get your quick reaction? And this is what he said for quote. I mean, I knew it was coming. I just had a feeling. ... Now we just got to go handle business, and it's going to be scary.
Hey, so the Andrew Marsh gave me this shirt when he came
There
to
we go.
town. When he came to town, Andrew Marsh got in the car with his mom, went over to Howell to go see Bryce at his game.
And on top of that, I want to point out too, his mom came up for a game without him.
Without him.
Without
she came
him.
to the Oregon game the next week without Andrew to recruit Bryce's parents. Just to spend time with Bryce's parents. But he came up and he came to the tailgate with Shamari, came to my tailgate show, and he brought me this shirt, and the shirt says, everything will be okay. That's his, and I guess that's his signature. I guess this is going to be his merch. Andrew Marsh, number 3. I'm trying to point to it on the camera. So I guess I should plug my man's merch. So get ready to buy this when he has his site. So I got to plug him a little bit. This is Andrew Marsh's gear. Everything will be okay. I guess he knew something. So get ready to buy it. But he said everything was going to be okay. He said I had some gear. This game
I need some gear, Andrew.
Be okay.
I need some gear. I need that, Andrew. I need that medium.
So
hook me up.
There you go. I mean but that's what you need in the class. You need guys like that in the class. I'm gonna go the extra mile to try to get other guys to come with. And he was like, look, even if other guys don't come, he's like, even if other guys don't come, and then he was like, everything will be okay. It's like, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. Smart Lawrence said, I'll take 2, Andrew.
Take 2.
Nate Davis said, everything indeed is gonna be okay. He said, hey, take this money. He's ready to get his shirt. So I'm telling you, man, that this is a great class that's being put together. Clearly, there are plans, and this is the other thing to read into it. Michigan their offense is definitely going to be more balanced. They're going to be putting it up more. That is clear in the recruiting. They're going to put it up more, and they're coming for some guys in some of these other classes. Some of these receivers that maybe they whiffed on. They're coming back around, fellas. They're coming back around, and they got a guy who's going to command attention from some of those guys. Even if the offense doesn't, the quarterback will. The quarterback will. Gives them some credibility.
Can I say one name? It's not a name I'd put a lot of credence into, but one name I almost guarantee you Michigan's going to be making a phone call to is DeCorian Moore, the number 1 receiver in the country out of Texas. He was at LSU for the Alabama game. His interest in LSU, from what I remember and believe, was tied to Bryce Underwood. He's committed to Oregon, but has been giving other schools a shot. And again, if Michigan has the NIL situation squared away, that's the kind of prospect that a commitment like this, I bet Michigan will at least be able to have a conversation with him. Where it goes, nobody will know. But that was the first name. Like when you talk about somebody who we may have never even talked about him, honestly, on the site. I mean, right? I don't remember writing much about him. Michigan was never really a factor. That's the level of prospect, though, that may take note of something like this. And I mean, you guys know, we know. I mean, receiver, the guys could play right away next year. I mean, and this is a kid like Moore could play next year anywhere. He could come in and be their number 1 receiver next year. Like, that kid's that talented. If you ever watch his tape, so he's the first. That was the first dude I thought of. Not a name I think. We'll see, but I'd be shocked if Sharon Moore or Ron Bellamy aren't getting on the phone, or going to at least try to get on the phone with DeCorian Moore at some point.
Yeah,
I got another name for y'all.
Real quick, I got to give a shout out to Daniel Horton, former Michigan point guard, co-host on Dropping Dimes. He's been calling it. He's been saying DeCorian Moore. He knows that Bryce and DeCorian Moore are tight. They visited LSU together. That's a relationship there. He's been saying, hey, Michigan needs to get back on Decoria more. Brice is a plug. That's one that can wake up. They played 7-on-7 together. He's been saying that's a Sam, Decoria Moore. That's one that could wake up. So we'll see. Brice, you were saying?
It's funny that this kind of went down today too, because I had just got a text earlier in the day about Ty Haywood, 5-star offensive tackle from Alabama, who's Michigan's been looking to get a 4th offensive lineman to join the fold of Andrew Babaloa, Avery Gash, and Ken Strayhorn. This is, I mean, again, at this point, you shoot your shot. You're swinging for the fences. 5-star down in Texas. He's got a Michigan offer, 6'5". I want to say 290 right now, coming into Alabama. But there's been talk that he was going to visit Michigan this weekend. Now, I was told he's got a playoff game. He's not going to make that, but there's a chance he comes up for a midweek visit. So that's something else to watch. And again, what's also very helpful for all this recruiting is Brice is 20 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
He can meet these guys, right? Like, this is not like a guy he's a 5-star commit to, from Georgia. He's going to Michigan. No, he can see these guys. He can drive up there. So if he knows Decoria Moore is coming to Michigan for a midweek or anytime, he can meet him. This is the luxury Michigan has now in their back pocket, where you have your centerpiece that's right down the road. That is your selling pitch of why you should join the fold. And I think, there's a lot to like right now.
Yeah, man. It's going to be really, really interesting to see who isn't even thinking about, like, wasn't even on the radar. Like, Decoria Moore is different from the guys that we're talking about. Because, like, 100%. That's a dude who's not even on the radar who could come into play. Like, there's some other guys that Michigan was recruiting and maybe they finished second for. That would be totally different. That's a totally off the board guy that maybe it's like, okay, suddenly in an instant, because you got his man, hey, now it's a possibility. Now it's like, okay, let's see what we can get cracking. Someone mentioned DJ Pickett. The only reason why that becomes somewhat interesting, they did recruit him very heavily. Obviously, Michigan is in the blood. Mom is an alum. I mean, you got the ties there. If Steve Clinkscale were still here, I would feel a lot better about the odds. I won't say it's impossible. I just think that of all of the connections, that one is the one that I think is the longest shot, because I think there are some other schools that have invested a lot more time, right? That he's been looking a lot harder at. So Georgia is in there really, really strong right now. Miami's in there really, really strong right now. So, I think the competing entities is what makes that a lot harder, if that makes sense. It's not that I don't think that, Michigan getting Brice makes it a compelling argument, and the family ties doesn't make it a compelling argument. It's that, man, he's already been looking hard at other schools, and those other schools have already been going hard in the paint. That's what I think makes it so much harder with DJ Pickett. Whereas with a guy like Derek Meadows, it's really only been Michigan and Notre Dame. It's been those two and those two alone right now. So I think you're ice skating. The slope is a lot higher and steeper with DJ Pickett. I'm not as optimistic on that one. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, sidebar on that too. He just tweeted out, blessed to be reoffered Jakeem Stewart by Michigan. So Michigan is,
so
Louisiana kid.
Stewart, So yeah, so Stewart was, I believe, was like top 5, top 10 2026 prospects who actually just reclassified to 2025. And I believe we kept him well within the top 100. I think he's ranked somewhere around 50th or whatever. But yeah, another guy that, I don't think Michigan, normally has a great shot with necessarily. So, yeah, again, I mean, but that's what maybe fans need to prep themselves for a little bit are, some names that either maybe some elite guys that they offered and things just never really took off, or those guys that they maybe have stayed on a little bit more than others. But yeah, you're talking like guys like Ty Haywood or a Jakeem Stewart, or guys that like I think Michigan maybe had, especially with Haywood. I think there was some conversations there, but they were never really a major factor. And now here they are, all of a sudden, maybe the team best position to. If he flips from Alabama, Michigan's the only real school that really seems to be in it. So it's kind of, it's different than we're used to covering Michigan football recruiting. I got to say, I mean, it's,
man, you get Bryce early, you start getting them acclimated, getting them ready. Then if you can get a portal guy, that gets you a jump start on next year. Man, this is just, the sun, the moon, the stars aligning really, really well. Now, here's a sidebar. We got about 5 minutes left in this live. So if you got questions coming in, someone mentioned Brady Hart. One of the things I think is important for Michigan to do is really lay out the timeline. Like you gotta work this out and really lay it out so you can stack these quarterbacks. Stack them the way Texas is stacking Quinn Ewers and Arch. Like it's possible because you play this out, and Michigan you get your portal quarterback, and then Brice starts for 2 years and he's gone to the pros. If this goes like it's supposed to go, and then it's Brady time, then it's Brady Hart time, right? That's how you want it to go. That's how you pitch it. That's how you stack it. That's how you lay it out, right? And so if you're Sharon, once Bryce is on, I'm on the FaceTime with all of these recruits that you're trying to get Bryce to bring in with you, and then I got Bryce on the FaceTime with me with Brady Hart. It's like, hey, we're family. He's got the keys now, and then he's gonna hand them to you, just like they're doing in Texas right now. Like this, it's going to be a handoff, my guy. We're going to have a quarterback dynasty, and you're going to be a part of it. That's how you keep it going, from one guy to the next. Stack them. You can't lose Brady Hart. Like we are not overlooking you, young fella. So you got to.
Yeah. I mean, there's other schools in the country that do this every cycle. I mean, it really shouldn't theoretically have any impact, right? I mean, I guess I'm interested to see what you guys think. You're looking at the current shape of the quarterback room. I mean, so we agree they should and will still look at the portal. You maybe try to throw a lottery ticket under recruited quarterback in 2025, a guy that wouldn't threaten Underwood's status or situation in the class, but a guy just to build, because I feel like they just need to rebuild that room from the ground up. I mean,
and let me not and let me be clear. I don't want to be. I'm not anointing a guy. Like, he's got to compete. I'm sure you don't just. He's the #1 quarterback in the country. He's very talented. You don't just hand the keys to a guy. He's got to come in. He's got to earn it, right? So you tell him that, and I'm sure he was told that. But assuming he wins it, right? Assuming he wins the job from whoever he's competing with, then you tell him, hey, he starts for 2 years, and then he hands the keys off to Brady Hart. assuming he wins it 2 years after that, right? So, you don't go handing jobs to guys. They got to win those jobs, but assuming they do, that's how it'll work. So I don't want to be confused. Is you got guys and hey, what about this guy? What about that guy? That guy doesn't count? Yes, those guys count. No, don't get it twisted. So, any questions before we end this live? Almost 18,000 in the room. Almost 18,000. No, nobody was getting, Sharon wasn't getting fired. We only, no hyperbole. This didn't save Sharon's job, but I think it saved the excitement for next year.
So I got a quick question for you guys. Does this make up for this season?
I think it does. I think it gives you excitement for next year. I don't think it changes what he has to do after this season, though. I think that he still has to evaluate his staff and make some changes. I don't think this changes that.
Yeah. No. Coming off of a national championship last year, yes, I think this makes this season much, much easier to swallow. Fans can maybe potentially look at this as a blip on the radar, right? I mean, just like you said, Sam, I mean, this is just one piece of that puzzle, but I mean, they're coming off 28 straight Big Ten wins or something in the national championship. I mean, adding those two things together, and then something like this where you get a potentially program changing player. Yeah, I think it really definitely softens the blow. Well, because the future just already immediately looks brighter now because you have a player of his caliber headlining your class at what we've obviously seen, and we knew it anyway, the most important position on the field, right? So yeah, I mean, I think it definitely kind of makes you just kind of take this year as it is, and yeah, like Sam said, now there's something to look forward to next season.
All right, folks, we got a lot coming over on the MichiganInsider.com. We love y'all. Hopefully, we see you over on the MichiganInsider.com. Told y'all there would be fireworks. It just help me out with all the people who were chirping. Help me with the receipts. Some of y'all who were doubters, I forgive you. Just come on back. Come on back home to TMI. Come on back. Hopefully you realize the error of your ways. Hopefully you realize there are a lot of pretenders out there. Maybe you needed to go see. You need to go see to realize they were pretenders, right? You got to go experience the fakers to realize they're fakers. You got to see them fake it real bad to realize they're fake, right? You got to get burned real bad. You got to catch a disease or two to realize how badly you got burned. Hate that it had to do it to you. But fortunately, it wasn't an incurable disease, right? Fortunately, you got healed and you can come back home. Come on back home to TMI. We're here for you. You've been healed. Got Bryce. You will come back home and we're here for you. With some great news that it's a great deal. It's 30% off an annual subscription. And it comes with Paramount Plus. And we got some great news on the horizon. We're going to be getting into all the targets that Michigan is going to go back on and who they have the best shot at. The guys who said, I want to see what's going to happen with Bryce right before they committed elsewhere. That's what we're going to be getting into on the site. So you don't want to miss that. And then who are the portal guys that they had the best shot at? Some maybe I've already started to, maybe there are some who we kind of been hearing some things about. You want to be getting on TMI right about now. Because I think we've shown once again, there aren't that many insiders out there. There just aren't. It's not bragging if it's true. That's what my grandma used to say. Not bragging if it's true. I like taking victory laps. I'm sorry. If they
And maybe to add on to the subscription thing real quick, Sam, before I forget, I would bet now with this going on, we could probably bump up the Black Friday sale early, which would give people an even bigger incentive to sign up now, right? I mean, Black Friday is what? It's like a week away. I figure we could probably get it worked out just because this is such a big event for people to give us an opportunity. So I'll put the word out tonight and see if we can get that going earlier.
What's the Black Friday sale? What are we going to do?
75% is the usual Black Friday sale. I mean, it's every year it's our best. It's our best promo we do. We don't do any higher. So
so listen.
I'll do what I can. I'll do what I can.
Right, so listen, folks. This is what I need from y'all. It's 18,000 of you in the room right now. This is what I need. It's the 75% off Black Friday sale. I'm going to put this deal on Twitter. Tell every Michigan fan you know. Because, see, they all think when they see it on Twitter and they see it on social media, they think all these insiders are the same. They think everybody's the same. And clearly they're not. And I need y'all to tell them that we're not all the same. Y'all got to tell them that, no. The rest of them dudes fake. The rest of them dudes ain't real. The rest of them dudes fugazi. You had one dude out here throwing out fake numbers and saying there's no chance, trying to wreck it. You had another dude who's never covered Michigan in his life, making up stories. Don't even live in Michigan, can't even get credentialed. Making bail threats with a baby seat in the back. That dude got a criminal record trying to cover sports to pay off his bills. Come on, man. I can't make this up. Right? Come on, man. It's unbelievable. It's not all the same. Not all the same. Not all created equal. You laughing. I'm not making it up. I'm not making it up. So you got to tell people that all these insiders, you got insiders and then you got real ones. You got to tell them not all the same. And you got to tell them there's a great deal for real intel, real insider. 75% off. So spread the word. If they want accurate intel on Michigan that they can count on, this is where they can get it. Can you do that? Can you back us up? Can you vouch for us? Can you ride for us? And then come back home, because some of y'all left. Some of y'all left. It's a bad season. You started to doubt. You're like, they are all the same. I don't really buy that. They don't really have a chance. Fireworks, but now you know. So you come back home and then bring some people with you. 75% off. Come on. Can you do that? Let me see you in the chat. It's 18,000 of you. So help us out. Help us out. Come on back home. Let me see you, because it's about to be fun. Recruiting is about to be fun again. See, last year it was about the team. The team was fun to cover, right? The season was fun. Recruiting, not so much. Recruiting the last couple of years, you can see in the class rankings, recruiting didn't really move the meter. Just didn't. Recruiting is about to be fun again. So let's go. Let's go. 75% off. Steve just made an executive decision. He said, I'm about to call CBS and say, let's go. All right, folks. So, hey, I got to get ready to go on CBS. Get ready to watch me live on CBS HQ. And then we'll see you over on the MichiganInsider.com. We got a lot of great content to come. So be sure to check us out over there. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching this special live edition of the Michigan Recruiting Insider. And we'll see you soon over on the MichiganInsider.com.